Welcome to Doni Jones Live. I am Doni the Tree Lady. And as you can probably see, we got some extra people in the studio today. And of course, we're missing my main man, Mr. Marty McFly. He's taking care of some business behind the scenes. But you guys, we have a great show for you today. We have a gentleman that I've actually known for many years. And he's such an exciting character. And I wanted to have him on the show because he's doing great things. And not only is he here, but he's also got a gentleman here that he's also working with that's bringing some great music into the world. And I'm talking about Mr. Curtis Reynolds and Dr. Marlon McNichols.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Y'all gotta excuse me. I've had too much coffee today. So, In fact, I'm gonna say that again, Dr. Marlon McNichols.
Go ahead. Thank you
Did
so
I say
much.
It right?
You said it perfectly. Thank you so much.
Well, you guys, the reason why I mainly wanted to have you on the show is not just because you're putting good content out, but I like the fact that you're putting good content out and you haven't stopped and you're seasoned. That's one of my biggest things right now because I'm a seasoned girl. Y'all know I'm a seasoned girl, but a lot of times we get to a certain point in our life and people think that we're supposed to be in a rocking chair someplace.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, you guys are out here making it happen. But why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your story so they can kind of know what I'm excited about?
Go ahead, Chris.
All right. Well, we're from the 70s. From the 70s.
Y'all know I love me some 70s.
I was with a group called Ripple, and we were the one that wrote the Ola, Ola, eh. And a lot of people have sampled that song, and it's from generation to generation. And that's where we were with a record company called GRC, and that's where I met Dr. McNichols here.
That's right.
He came down. He was producing a group called The Counts. But anyway, I met him there. Strangely, though, he's from Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Right.
They're 21 miles apart.
Right.
That's correct.
I knew his family. I didn't know I knew his family.
Right.
But down through the years, we just stayed in touch. And Marlon came to me because someone was interested in redoing Ola, Ola, eh again.
Right.
And from that, we started working together. And then we came up with this. Well, Marlon came up with this Good News concept of the
and
group.
Good News is the name of your new group.
The new
that
group,
you're
right.
And you guys are actually not just only putting stuff out here in America, you're also putting stuff out in Europe, correct?
Right. And Marlon can tell you more about the international connections that he has because as you know, I own a body shop.
Yes.
And I was a single father, so I had to kind of back away from the music and raise a family, and that's how I met you.
I actually want you to talk a little bit about that, but before we jump into that, I want Dr. Marlon. I love saying doctor because anytime I see some brown skin with a doctor in front of it, that gets me excited. Y'all know me. So.
All right.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about your story, Dr. Marlon.
Okay. I've been in the record industry or the entertainment industry for over 50 years.
Yes.
I was vice president of Warner Brothers Records and vice president of Atlantic Records, and Curtis and I, we hooked up. I was a national promotion director for GRC Records.
Yes.
And I was in charge of the radio for getting Ripple played on the radio.
Yeah.
And after the record company kind of went under, I moved to L.A. When I moved to L.A., I had a record called Bustin' Loose by Chuck Brown and the Soul Searchers.
I know. I feel like busting
That's
loose.
it.
Okay. Did y'all bring some instruments with y'all? We're going to go set it off in here.
All right.
Go ahead.
But see, I never played.
Okay.
I always done most of the international licensing.
Yeah.
And
You're the
that.
record executive.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Yes.
on that end of it. And I've done some producing because how me and Curtis met, I had a group called Accounts.
Absolutely.
And they got down here because I was producing them. And so I was out in L.A. for, I think, 25 years. And then I moved back to Michigan. And from Michigan, I moved back. This is my second time staying in Atlanta.
Okay, well, welcome to Atlanta, or welcome back to Atlanta, I should say.
Oh, yeah. It didn't change so much since the 70s.
Yes.
But it's... When we were here, we really got what's happening now in the music business. It started with us.
Okay.
You know, it started with Brick. It started with the SOS band.
Yes.
It started with Mother
Love me
Finest.
some SOS band, man.
Yeah. And so over the years, it kind of transitioned to where it's at now.
Okay.
But we were at the front end of it.
You were the forefathers to all
Absolutely.
of this.
Absolutely.
You know, I want to ask you about that because here at Doni Jones Live, we love to talk about entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
We love to talk about ownership. We love to talk about people that are doing things outside the box. And I would say for you to be in this industry for over 50 years, that means 50 years ago, you were doing something out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into the industry and get on the backside of it, meaning you're an executive, you're a businessman behind the scenes, when back then I would assume there weren't a lot of us behind the scenes.
Right.
How did you navigate that?
Well, what I recognized back then, being ahead of the black division really didn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn the business of the music business.
Okay.
So I took time out and became a student of the industry, of the business side, and got involved in intellectual properties management, the importance of owning the masters, the importance of managing artists the right way, educating the artists.
Right.
And so recognizing that whenever a record company had cutbacks, back then the first one they would cut back is the head of the black division.
Wow.
So I had to feel like though I had to learn the business of the record business.
Right.
And so I dove into it, and that's what's been able to keep me in the industry now, because I'm 79.
No. Okay. Are you serious?
Oh, yes. But what?
Okay, y'all. He's doing something I ain't doing. Are you vegan or something?
But what happens, though, all of the guys that were in it with me, they're no longer in it. But I was able to transcend to the different genres of music, but then also pick up and learn the social media.
Yes.
And so these youngsters are forced to talk to me because I talk the same language.
There you go. But not only that, that goes back to you being seasoned, but still being out there doing what you're doing.
Right, absolutely.
Like, you've seen a lot of changes in the industry, I'm sure, over 50 years.
Absolutely.
But I guess something inside of you was like, listen, I'm going to keep rolling with the punches.
Right,
in fact, I'm
absolutely.
going to get ahead of the punches so that they don't knock me out.
Right, absolutely. Because, in fact, I owned the first and only black record one-stop in Atlanta back then.
Get out of
Oh,
here.
yeah. They had a Friedman, you remember Friedman Curtis?
Yeah.
He owned the one-stop, but then I was in the one-stop business back then.
Okay.
And so it was the first and only black the record one-stop in the industry. So, yeah.
So, Curtis, you were obviously a performer in the industry back then. And you guys didn't know each other back then, but in your experience, did it hurt or help you with the management that you had? Meaning people
helped.
that understood the background and how to protect your intellectual property and stuff like that. Did you have that kind of protection, or was it or did you go through a learning curve where you did one of those James Brown things where you made a lot of money and lost it?
And that's that. You said exactly right. Back then, and Marlon was there, the record companies dictated everything.
Yeah.
We were with GRC Records, and then GRC Records had us in their management company,
Right.
and the whole nine. And we wrote a song they called Cross Collateralization. All the money came to them,
Right.
and they gave us what they wanted to give us. Well, we
Wait a
were
minute.
young.
Now, what is cross collateralization for those of us that don't know what cross collateralization? Because it sounds like it is not something good. I'm just saying.
It's when the record company would put us on a salary.
Okay.
I mean, just for numbers, we got $1,000 a week apiece, but we were making $80,000 a week.
Oh, my goodness.
In money. I mean, and then that.
So you were bringing in $80,000 a week,
Right.
but you weren't physically making that.
We weren't making that.
The
but
record company was.
They had a thing they called payback. We would go in the studio and make $100 an hour a piece. We'd be in there 8 hours a day every
Right.
day.
Yeah.
Came out to be a decent week, but we didn't know it. We were borrowing money from ourselves.
Oh, so you were getting these checks,
But we had
in
to
the
pay
end-
it back.
Okay.
They would keep records.
Yeah.
And that money they was giving us, so when we were playing, our manager would be right there at the gig getting the money.
Get out of here.
Yeah, they'd get the money. But understand, we owed them money, but not the
Right.
kind of money.
Not
they
the kind of
giving
money
us,
they were
but-
talking
but
about.
but we owed them money.
Right.
And
Right.
and it would have been good, but the actual owner of the company, his name was Mike Thieves, and
Right.
when they popped him, all our money, when they got him for tax evasion,
Right.
all our money was in that corporation.
Oh, my
and when they
goodness.
froze his money, they
They
froze our
froze
money.
your money too. Now, this is why it's so important for me to see people like yourself doing what you're doing, because I would assume you felt some kind of responsibility to protect artists, being an executive, especially, somebody of color. Did you see that as your responsibility, or?
Okay, well, I seen it as part of my responsibility,
Right.
but then when you use the word cross-collateralization,
Right.
is that what happens there, the record company would pay for your apartment, your everything, your recording.
Oh, wait a minute. So they're paying for the lifestyle.
They're paying for the lifestyle.
So when your check comes, before
right.
it even hits you,
Right.
they take all the
Yeah,
lifestyle stuff
right.
out.
And-
Okay.
And the cross-collateralization means in any area
Okay.
that they spend money, if it's for housing, buying a car, supplying you with instruments.
Okay.
So that's what they use the word cross-collateralization. Now, what happens is that part was not wrong,
Right.
because in the record business, it's the only business I know where you could owe a record company $1 million,
Right.
and your act don't happen. You don't owe them nothing. You walk away. It's not
But
like a
wouldn't that
bank.
be kind of a positive thing, though?
It is.
If you don't
It-
owe
it-
them anything.
Right, but it can. Yeah, it can go both ways.
Right.
Now, what happens? That's when your managers come
Right,
in.
right.
And your manager is the one that negotiates your deals.
Well,
Now-
we're going to come back and talk about that, because I want to really get deep into that, because I love talking about the business side of things.
Yeah.
Guys, we're talking to Mr. Curtis Reynolds and Dr. I said it right, Dr. Marlon McNichols. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Doni Jones Live. You guys, we're getting schooled today, so we'll be right back, and thanks. Welcome back to Doni Jones Live. I am Doni the Tree Lady, your neighborhood certified arborist, and today we are talking to Dr. Marlon McNichols and Curtis Reynolds. And we're actually talking a little bit about the music industry. We're talking about what they're doing right now with their new group, Good News. And so we're talking to an executive who's in the music industry, as well as a performer in the music industry who's also a producer. But we were kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the background of what goes on behind the scenes with the money, with cross-collateralization and other things that happen in the music industry that a lot of people don't know about. And, on our show, we're always trying to enlighten you. So, Dr. Marlon, can you talk a little bit about what you were talking about before we went to break?
Oh yeah, we're talking about cross-collateralization. See, in most cases, when an artist first signs with the label,
Right.
they haven't got any money.
Right.
So what happens? The record company takes all the responsibility of the recording,
Right.
and housing, and all those expenses.
Right.
And so what happens is that the record company puts that money out in front.
Okay.
Where they keep a record, and it's called advance against your royalties. So okay, and the cross collateralization comes in at the end of the day. If the artist makes money,
Right.
the record label takes back what they owed,
Right.
and then they pay. Then the artist gets the overflow of the royalties. Now it can work to your advantage
Right.
if you got the right manager that knows how to negotiate
Right.
those kind of deals. But most of the artists go in these deals, they're just creative.
new.
They're new.
Right.
Oh man, they don't.
That's all right.
Oh, I said,
You're
no.
doing business. That's
Yeah,
all
right.
right. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're new, and they're so anxious to get a record
Right.
contract. They don't look over their contracts.
Well, I want to talk about what you're doing right now,
Okay.
because I know that you're helping to protect artists, especially with you being an executive in the industry. But Curtis, going back to you coming up in the industry and what you're doing right now with Marlon, tell us, I know that you got some things going on. We kind of tapped a little bit on that, but let's talk about what's going on present day with you right now.
Present day, musically, you're talking
Yes,
musically.
musically.
I've worked with gentleman Jimmy Brown. He's from the group Brick.
Yes.
And him and I have been doing a duo for, I said about 32 years.
Yeah.
Now. And we play locally. We play all over.
Yes.
And we do all kinds of music. We do jazz. We do the Ritz-Carlton for brunch. And
Nice.
and we can go over to a dance club and make them dance all night long.
Yes,
that
yes.
we've been doing that. So, and I've been busy in the studio because of the good news.
Yes.
We're putting good news together, and that's working real.
But you guys are already releasing music from what I understand. Is that
yeah,
right?
good news. Good news is releasing music, and Marlon is basically in charge of getting that promoted.
Yes,
and
which is why we're here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Marlon's promotion is more international than
That's awesome.
the United States.
Well, speaking of promotions, how do we get in contact with you? Or how do we get in contact with you, get your music, or reach out to you so we can support you and what you're doing?
Okay, the music is on all of digital platforms for downloading, and CD Baby, Amazon, Tidal, Sony.
Okay.
And so you just go in and
What do we type in?
Yeah, type in good. Oh man, I forgot. Good news.
Okay, y'all got to put them phones on silent. You're a busy music executive, so I know your phone is not gonna stop ringing.
I'm sorry, guys. I call myself cutting this darn thing.
That's what keeps it exciting in the studio, y'all. Once again, we're here with Curtis Reynolds and Dr. Marlon McNichols. That's a mouthful right there.
The Dr. Marlon McNichols.
And you were saying that the way to what do we type in when we're trying to find you online?
Okay, you type in www.goodnews.com.
Goodnews.com. GOOD.
Yeah,
GOOD.
Okay, now you got to talk to me. So there's an extra O in there.
There's an extra O.
So you got to tell us that because they'll be putting good news and they might get that. I think there's like a newspaper called Good News or something like that.
Right, absolutely.
So we want to type in www. I'll let you say it.
Okay, type in www.good, That's 3 O's, good news, NEWS.com.
Love it. Goodnews.com with that extra O in there. I love that. See, that's good marketing. Can't nobody take that from you. Okay.
No.
Now, what kind of music are you doing with Good News?
We're billing this as an international group. It's going to be pop. It's going to be pop, soul. It's going to be some rap because everybody collaborates now. So it's just going to be an international group, and it's not a black group. It's not a white group. It's going to be international.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's really hot now. Collaborations is really, really hot now. What's the biggest thing you've seen in our industry change on the business end?
The streaming.
Yes.
And downloading, but downloading is kind of a thing of the past now. Streaming is a big thing. That's a big income streams, and so that's been the biggest change in our industry. And what happened? All the new technology caught the record companies off guard.
Yeah.
And so, as record executives, when the new technology came in, we didn't know how to react to it because it was so far ahead of us, and it wasn't any copyright laws that would deal with streaming and downloads. And so in our industry now, streaming is the income stream of our industry.
So, with your company, do you help artists navigate that? Especially because you do take on new artists and you do. I would assume you're also managing these artists. Tell us what you do exactly as a music executive. So if there's people out there that are interested, they can also reach out to you. Okay.
Basically, what I do now, I do a lot of the international marketing and licensing deals, distribution side of the industry. And
I need to talk to you about my show then. No. Y'all don't be trying to copy me.
Right. And so what I've done in the last 12 to 15 years, since radio changed America so much, I concentrated overseas.
Okay.
And I stayed in Greece, too. I lived in Greece. Oh, my God. And I got the chance to collaborate with a lot of what we call celebrity DJs.
Okay.
And so we got those kind of networks, and how Curtis and I got together. There's a couple of celebrity DJs from Europe wanted to do Curtis's song over, and they wanted, and they thought I owned the intellectual properties. So they contacted me. So, but anyway, I do a lot of international and national business. We don't take on a lot of new artists.
Okay.
Artists.
You got your hands full already with what you're doing.
But we're very selective of what artists we want to get involved with, And so we do take on new ones, but it's very selective.
Gotcha.
And
well, once again, we're talking to Dr. Marlon McNichols and Curtis Reynolds, and we're talking about the new project that they've got going on with Good News and the music that they're putting out. And you as a record executive, I just think that's so powerful that you guys are teaming up, and it looks like you really do have his back. Once again, how did you decide not to? Because if you were living in Greece and you had this great lifestyle, what would make you say, okay, let me just stay involved when you could probably just take your money and stay on an island someplace? What drives you?
Well, see, once you're in it, and you become, it's a passion, and you love doing it, and it's that kind of keeps you in it. It's just like a recording artist, like the old artists, that really don't need a hit record, but what's very important to them to have a hit record.
Right.
So they stay in the business and they keep striving to get that hit record. And it's just exciting to see these new groups develop, and so it's just the love of it, and that's what keeps me in it.
Well, was it hard for you to kind of, because you said that a lot of record executives and record companies were caught off guard with the streaming and the downloading. How did you keep up with it?
Because I stayed on top of the business.
Yeah,
I stayed on it, and I was willing to learn, and I even went back to Phoenix University at 76 years old.
Oh my goodness!
I went, took some classes and got involved in the social media, and I stayed right on top of the trend of the industry.
I love it. Do you think that's one of the things right now that a lot of the more mature artists don't do? Is that why you're kind of staying involved to inspire them, or what is it you see?
Well, what I like to do is educate the artists.
Okay.
In the past, that's been the artist's problem.
Yeah.
Not being educated, not knowing what they were getting into, but how to navigate their way around this industry, and so with lawyers and see, most of the bad deals in our industry. The artists make the bad deals. They don't understand the contract. It's not the managers. They don't understand the contracts. They don't have the money to hire an attorney. Gotcha. And so I kind of fit in between that artist and that attorney. Right. Because when I was staying in Detroit, all the rappers called me their attorney. I did all the legal work. I did.
Now, are you an attorney by trade?
No. Just I can do anything but going to the court and litigate.
Okay.
So that's
you're close to an attorney.
I'm close to it.
So I bet you know we know.
And what happens is that I draft out of the same law books they do.
There you go.
And that's some of the keys.
There you go.
We know what's going on.
And we're going to talk about that when we come back. Once again, guys, we are here talking to Dr. Marlon McNichols and Curtis Reynolds. We're talking about the music industry. These are gentlemen that have been in the industry 50 plus years, and they're still doing it. In fact, you guys are familiar with some of their music. We're going to talk about that when we get back. Once again, I am Donnie the Tree Lady, hanging out, not with my main man today, but with two other guys that are doing great things. So you guys, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Doni Jones Live. I am your neighborhood certified arborist, Donnie the Tree Lady, and of course your radio show host, your podcast show host, all of those things. But it's not about me today. It is about Mr. Curtis Reynolds and Dr. Marlon McNichols, and they are in the music industry. They've been doing music for over 50 years. They've got a new group called Good News, and that's with an extra O. So if y'all want to check them out, you go to www.goodnews.com. .com, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Before we went to break, I was saying I wanted to talk to you about your experience in the industry.
Okay.
Because obviously, with someone that's kind of with his experience, you guys are going to be doing big things, and you are doing big things. But I think what people don't get a chance to see is what you went through. You have this certain level of fame. You know, you're traveling all over the world, and then something happens. Talk to us about what happened to you in the industry and how, of course, because I met you because you started doing my trucks and painting and stuff. But talk to me about how that came about.
Well, once we were down here, I'll just give you a quick little story. We were down here.
Well, you ain't got to make us cry or nothing,
Oh, no,
you know?
none of that. It was all fun. It was fun. Yeah, we were down here, and we went from playing nightclubs to having a hit record.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot faster than we thought it was.
Yeah.
We were, all of a sudden, we went from, we were in Miami playing with Harold Melvin and Blue Note.
Yeah.
And then
that's
next,
where Teddy Pendergrass
yeah,
came from.
Teddy
Yeah,
Pendergrass.
okay.
Matter of fact, when I met him, I thought he was Harold Melvin. I walked up and said, "Great job, Harold." He said, "I'm Teddy Pendergrass." He said, "And I'm going to be on my own soon." He said, "Look for it." That's
He
what he
told you that?
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah. And so then we went from that. We were the opening act for, my goodness, Earth, Wind and Fire, Commodores, Richard Pryor, Ohio Players.
And this is when you were with Ripple or
This
when
one I
you
was
were with
Ripple.
Brick?
No,
Okay.
this was Ripple. Brick,
Okay.
I went out with Brick maybe 3 times.
Okay.
My history with music was with Ripple.
Okay.
And we opened up for Prince. We opened up for Tower Power. We opened up for the OJs. I did the Apollo probably 4 or 5 times. I mean,
Wow.
a week at a time we would do those. So we were the opening act for a long time.
Yeah.
And we were blessed to have a song that was in Billboard back then with the #1.
Yeah.
And that was big.
That's
you know.
awesome.
So,
And repeat that song again for the people, because I know y'all know the song.
oh, it's a Ola, Ola,
yeah.
and
Ola, Ola,
yeah, and people know the chant. The name of the song back then is funny. I don't know what it is, but it sure is funky. That was the name of the song.
Are you serious?
That was the name of the
Yeah.
song.
I did not know that.
Yep, everybody
You
thinks.
just stumped me.
Yeah, everybody thinks the name of that song was Ola Ola, but no,
That's
it
what
was
I
called. I don't know what it is, but it sure is funky. And then
Okay.
Kid and Play sampled it.
Yeah.
Special Ed sampled it. Generation after generation, somebody sampled that song.
Now, I want you to stop right there. I do want you to get into your personal story, but I think this almost goes back to what you were talking about. I remember that song being sampled. Did you ever have a situation, or I guess it must have been a situation where all these people are sampling it? It's the 80s, it's the 90s, it's the 2000s. Were they sending you checks for this?
Well, that's a whole nother thing where it comes in where we didn't have our business straight through the record company. Actually, we made less money on Ripple, per se, the members of Ripple made less money on that song than we made on anything because of contracts and the way that the whole thing went down back then. Because we were young, we signed contracts, and they did and moved money like they wanted to. And again, the company that we were with, his heart was in it, but when they came in and hit him for tax evasion, the man had to survive, you know. And
but there wasn't a way for you guys to pull your money out of there before all of that went down?
Because I don't know as much about cross-collateralization legal-wise as Marlon knows, but our money was in a pool. And they called it conspiracy. That's what they told us it was.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Gotcha.
And so our money was froze when his money was froze.
Now, is that what happened to get you to a point where you had to look at your life and go, okay, what are we going to do? Or
Absolutely.
what led up to that?
Absolutely. When they froze his money, we were the #1 group in that record company.
Wow.
Now, with it being like that, all of a sudden the record company had no money to operate with or anything.
Right.
And we were under contract. And back then, it may sound crazy now because it's nothing, but they were asking $1 million for our contract. No one was going to pay $1 million for the contract.
Wow.
And so we started out making $3,500 a night. We went up to making $20,000 a night. But when you don't have hits,
Right.
your money starts going down, 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 down. So we had no way to put any more hits out, to do anything.
Right.
So I went back to Michigan. I had 3 years that I had to wait to get out of that contract. I couldn't.
And during that time, what did you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, and so I couldn't make money playing. I mean, we could have invested, but back then it was 7 people in the group. The corporation we had, it was a vote thing, not a. I couldn't just go in. I was a leader of the group, but I couldn't just go and say I'm going to do this. I would have to vote. Now,
so you couldn't go out and do another group or call it something else?
Well, we could have done that, but it wouldn't have done any good. I mean, we didn't have the notability. They knew us as Ripple, Ola Ola A.
Gotcha.
That's what we were known as, and they were expecting another hit from us because that song started dying.
Yeah.
I mean, we said it was dying. It never really died, but we didn't know that.
Right. Absolutely.
We didn't know. And so when people were sampling that song, whatever deals the record company made with other people, and it was controversy on that song too. Another guy, Mr. Jackie Beavers out of Michigan, had wrote a song similar, but it wasn't the same.
Wow.
And he challenged it, and the record company that we were with, the owner didn't challenge him or anything. He just said, okay, or whatever they did, it made us lose our rights to it.
Right.
So the money went wherever it went.
Right. So the money went wherever it went, but somehow you wound up in the paint industry because that's where you and I met almost 20 years ago.
Right.
And to hear that, and I even knew back then that you were still doing music, you were still putting yourself out there with Jimmy, but you somehow made this transition. How did that happen?
Well, I grew up in a body shop. I mean, my family owned a body shop.
Okay.
And so I knew the business anyway. So when I had to do something, I said, well, I'm going to open up a body shop.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
And I remember you have big contracts with a lot of the moving companies around here.
I do,
So it's not like he just opened a body shop on the little corner and did JoJo's. And then this gentleman took what happened, I guess, in the music industry, took that energy and poured it into something else and built a successful business.
Right.
And I would assume with Marlon's help this time around, you're going to be protected. I would assume.
We're good.
We're in good shape. Now. We're in good shape.
Marlon said you ain't got to worry about that kind of stuff.
That will not happen again.
That will not happen again. Now, Marlon, I would assume that with your experience, you've heard of these kind of stories before happening in the industry to people.
Yes.
You know, what advice would you have to a new artist so that this doesn't happen to them?
Get legal representation.
Okay.
And everyone that says they're a manager, they're not a manager. And don't get your cousin or your uncle being your manager.
Yes.
So get legal advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right from the beginning. And learn as much as they can about the industry as they go along. Don't all put all the energy towards the creative side. Learn the business of the music business or the entertainment business.
But when you're an art, okay, for example, my daughter, she can sing her face off, okay? Now, she hasn't expressed that that's what she wants to do with her life, but I don't know what to do. I just know that periodically we'll get calls, can your daughter come sing, here, or she'll get into a little talent show and stuff like that. Once a person, especially a child or a young person, gets to a point where they're like, this is what I want to do with my life, but they don't know who to get as a lawyer. Like, what do you look for?
Well, whenever...
Because most artists are just like, I just want to sing. Or just
absolutely. Right. In real good entertainment lawyers are expensive.
Yes.
But anytime you deal with the lawyers, you want to know their client lists.
Okay.
Or who they represented before. And then, you go in and get a consultation, with them. And then you kind of talk about your vision,
right?
And you kind of source. You don't just jump into it,
right?
You might go to 2 or 3 or whatever.
So in other words, shop around.
Yeah, shop around. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, shop around.
So y'all young people, y'all listening? If y'all got a gift, before y'all start signing contracts,
absolutely,
y'all need to get some legal representation.
Right, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
But that's awesome. Now, with your record label, because that's what tell us about Angel Dove.
Yeah.
Okay. Angel Dove is a corporation built on a lot of joint ventures. We got deals with producers and stuff from London and Germany and France. And each of our partners we represent each of our partners.
Yes.
And we represent their intellectual properties. We set up the marketing and distribution, and then we hire all the outsource. See,
Okay.
so this is not no one man show.
Well, I can tell looking at you, you ain't know what you handle your business. You put stuff. You put team. You have a team of people.
Absolutely.
That you work with.
I'm big on that.
I love it.
I know quite a bit, but it's always an expert that knows more than me.
I love that.
And so I bring the right people in. Excuse me, the right people in to further the project ahead. Right. Just like on Good News, over in England, we have a company called It's Your Thing Promotion.
Okay.
So we hired them as our independent representative for Europe.
Wow.
Okay, so when you hire these people, you got to know who they are and if they can do the job.
And knowing who they are is very important. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get back. Once again, guys, you giving us a bunch of knowledge, and I love this, and I hope you guys are listening. I'm Donnie the Tree Lady here with Curtis Reynolds and Dr. Marlon McNichols. We'll be right back. Once again, this is Doni Jones Live. Okay, welcome back to Doni Jones Live. I am Donnie the Tree Lady, and once again, we are here talking to Dr. Marlon McNichols and Curtis Reynolds, and we're talking about their new music. We're talking about his media company and how it's important for you to have legal representation and to know what you're doing in the music industry. But I would even go so far as to say in any industry.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm a businesswoman. I had to learn the hard way that you got to be able to cross your T's and dot your I's.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, somebody coming to get your stuff. So,
That's right. That's right.
you
Yeah,
know.
no doubt.
But Curtis, the thing that's so exciting about you is that I do see you doing this, and you didn't let go of your dream, even though the dream was sidelined for a little bit.
Right.
Can you talk to people about what it takes for you to keep going through that type of adversity?
Well, it's a passion that I have for it.
Yeah.
And it's also a God-given gift that I have to be able to put people together and make things happen.
Yeah.
You know, I do with musicians what Marlon does with executive people.
Yes.
And that's what makes our team so strong. You know,
Absolutely.
I don't have to be worried about going out finding this deal or trying to get this played. He doesn't have to worry about going out finding musicians or whatever to make happen. I got to give him something to work.
Right.
And once I give it to him, it's history.
But see, you got something to work with. And that's another key point. My young people out there, you got to have something to work with.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of young people, and a few old people where they want to do all these things, but they have nothing to work with.
Absolutely.
You ain't got a voice. You don't have content. You don't even have you want to do a lawn service and you ain't even got a lawnmower. I mean, you know what I mean? You got to have something that people can work with. And with you, I know it comes with your talent, your physical talent, with instruments, but it also comes with your experience.
Right.
You know, are you working? You said you're working with all kind of different people on this album.
On this album. Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about the music. What is it skewing towards? I know it's international and kind of eclectic, but can you be a little bit more explanatory on what you're doing right now?
Music has made a big change. R&B is kind of not R&B anymore.
Right, right.
You know, and pop is pop, but everybody, since the internet, people all over the world listen to music.
Yeah.
And you're not going to, they have electric dance music. I mean.
EDM?
EDM.
Is that right? Look at
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Y'all, I'm old, but I ain't that old.
Yeah. And so they have all these different things, and I don't care what you put out, they're going to remix it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be either for a genre of music or not. I mean, so we're international. We're putting out all kind of music. You know, I can't say it's not R&B. It's not just pop.
Right.
It's not I mean,
We're just gonna have to get we're just gonna have to buy your music to find out.
Follow Good News.
That's right. Follow. And are you guys on Instagram and social media and stuff like that?
Yes, that's what Luke does. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Well, you guys check them out on social media too. And if you want to check out their website, it's www.goodnews.com. And there's an extra O in good.
There you go.
For original. The extra O is for original, y'all. So,
Now that's good.
I like that. We can use that.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. Can we patent that? Or you gonna
You can
hold
patent
on?
that. I'm gonna give you that one. That was my gift to you.
Okay.
Exactly. But I do want to go back to you, Marlon, as far as the fact that is it harder now, or is it easier now putting content out? I mean, or is it just about the same mentality?
No. Since it's the internet is easier,
Right.
But see, the key is easy to get out. But how are you going to drive that consumer to know to listen to your music when you got Spotify that got 10 million songs?
Exactly.
See?
Exactly.
So you can get anybody to put the music out.
Okay.
But the idea, end of the day, is to sell the music.
That's right.
And so with that comes a marketing plan, a social media plan.
Okay.
The record business now, it's artists to fan driven.
Right.
And so on all your internet platforms, your goal is how to associate with your artist.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Drake got 30 million followers.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but when you put the numbers together, he got 30 million followers, but he sold 1,400,000 on his last album.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant that with 30 million followers, he only got 4% buying his music.
That's true.
That's right. So those numbers kind of fools you.
Right.
But the key is he's got those 4% that he has relationship with.
Okay.
Now, since CDs are no longer a part of our industry.
Those went away overnight. I was telling somebody they should get a CD. I was like, don't nobody do CDs no more.
Right. Nobody. Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
You just stream everything.
You're streaming.
Yeah.
And I talked with Taylor Swift manager that was a manager for 2 years.
Yeah.
And her biggest success is building her fan base.
Yeah.
All of the corny songs that she used to put out when she first got started.
Yeah.
Her manager told me those songs were from conversations with her fans.
Wow.
And how they felt.
Yeah.
And so when her music came out, that already had that fan base.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
it's artists to fan relationships.
Yeah.
So when you do.
But how do you monetize that? That's my concern, because even as a business person, I hear people go, well, you know what? I got 100,000 followers. I got 20 million followers and stuff. And then, because I own a tree service, so I do work for people here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I'll go to some celebrity's quote unquote house, and they're trying to cut a deal because they money tight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, but I see you everywhere.
Yeah,
I see
right.
you, you know.
That's how this
so how do
industry
you
is.
turn 10 million fans into $10 million?
Okay. Now, that's the key to having good management that knows how to understand business.
Yes.
Like Kurz and I are in the music business, but we always talk numbers at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what happens when you monetize, you build artists to fan relationship to open up for your merchandise. See what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so that's how you monetize it with other things that you can offer your fans.
So are
to
they
buy.
not making? Would you say artists aren't making as much money off their music as they are off of touring and merchandising and stuff, or is it? What do you?
Right, touring it's gone back to where artists used to make their money off touring.
Okay.
See, when the record business was first began, it wasn't based on the artists making money off royalties.
Okay.
The record business was founded on the artists making money off performing.
Yes, absolutely.
So now it's kind of how when artists start selling a lot of records, then it kind of changed.
Right.
But now it's back to artists getting out on the road,
Yes.
and then they can sell their CDs.
There you go.
See what I mean?
There you go.
At their personal appearances.
Or stream it or download
right,
it.
Or download
Tap
it.
on in and pay $1.99 to
Right,
download
absolutely,
it
right.
or whatever.
Yep.
That's what people are doing.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously we're here to celebrate good news and the fact that you guys are putting that out. But before we wrap up, what would you like for our audience to know? Start with you, Curtis.
That good news is going to be a name that's going to be around a long time.
That's right. That's good news with that extra O
Extra
for
O.
original. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
And what would you like? What do you want to say to the community?
I think the part of the success of good news being successful
Yeah.
is the passion and the love we have for what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that drives us. And that new artists have compassion for their art,
That's
and but treat it also like a business. And so out of good news, we kind of talk about the education.
Yes.
Because good news gives us a chance to get before young folks to talk about what we, like Curtis, we've been through as artists.
Yeah.
Then my side, I can talk to the business side of it. That's why we make good partners.
Yes.
Because the side of what Curtis handles, I don't have to deal with the artist like he does, because he knows that, and I don't have to worry about it because I know he's the best.
Right.
So
You're not going to be getting on the keyboard or something.
no, no way.
But if that check don't come, that's the person. Marlon's the person.
Ain't worried about it not coming with Marlon.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful what you all are doing. And it's
Thank you.
inspirational for me, too,
Thank you.
to see you all out here doing it. Because a lot of times when people do come up in industry, they've made a name for themselves, and then times change, they don't keep up with the times. And you guys have obviously made an effort to do so. And not just keep up, but to push things forward.
Absolutely.
Now, before we head out of here, you got to tell me, where did the name Good News come from? Just so we can put some relationship to that.
Okay. You want
Well,
to?
no, you came up with it, really.
Man, how did that come about?
I don't even remember.
Okay, right. Well, we were trying to think of a name for a group because this is really the beginning of. It's a spinoff from what we started with on another project.
Okay.
And then we decided this is more like a studio group.
Okay.
And so what happens is that we kept talking about good news, and I said, well, this be a little different. Let's put another O in it.
Yeah.
So that'd be a marketing tool, a conversation piece.
Yes.
So folks will ask us about how the third O came into the
I love it.
into the good news.
Okay.
And so it's come out of a marketing plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The business side of you.
What-
And I guess good news means that it's just, is it more spiritual based? Is it just,
It's
faith based or
Okay,
is it?
it's a part. It can use on any faith or whatever, because
Okay.
it's good news. Music is good news.
That's
and,
true.
And
That's
what
true.
we do with our music is the bridge between countries and nations, and we're giving good news.
I love it. And with that, that's what we need to hear. We need to start building bridges. Their music is building bridges. Their legacy has built a bridge from one generation to the other. And you're listening to Doni Jones Live. I'm Donnie the Tree Lady here with Curtis Reynolds and Dr. Marlon McNichols. You guys need to build a bridge to the internet and go check them out. And thank you guys for listening. We love you, and we look forward to hearing from you. At DonnieJonesLive@gmail.com if you guys have any questions about our show. But we look forward to talking with you guys next week. Once again, I am Donnie the Tree Lady, and this is Doni Jones Live.